Welcome to Timeless Memories. I'm Sarah. This channel is a special place where we honour remarkable lives that continue to be remembered with love and admiration. Here we reflect on unforgettable figures from film, music, television and culture, celebrating their journey, their impact and the legacy they left behind. Every tribute we share keeps their memory alive and forever meaningful. Floyd Vivino, widely known as Uncle Floyd, has passed away at the age of 74. He is remembered as a true original in offbeat comedy, someone who built a career on creativity, spontaneity, and a deep love for entertaining others in his own unique way. The Uncle Floyd Show and cult influence. He created The Uncle Floyd Show, a low-budget but highly imaginative program that blended slapstick humour, music, puppetry and improvisation. Featuring characters like Oogie and Sludge the Turtle, the show developed a devoted following and eventually became a cult favourite. Despite its simple production, it stood out for its fearless originality and charm. Lasting impact and memory. Beyond its humour, the show influenced many comedians and artists who admired its raw, creative energy. Floyd Vivino is remembered not just for making people laugh, but for proving that creativity doesn't require scale, only passion. His legacy continues through the generations of performers he inspired and the enduring spirit of joy he brought to audiences. Jessica Walter, who passed away at the age of 80, was a gifted performer known for her striking presence and emotional range. From early in her career, she showed a rare ability to balance intensity with subtle humour, setting her apart in both film and television. Breakthrough and memorable roles. She first gained wide recognition with her powerful performance in Play Misty for Me, a role that left a lasting impression on audiences. Later, she became widely loved for her role as Lucille Bluth in Arrested Development, where her sharp delivery and comedic timing turned her into a standout figure in modern television comedy. Voice work and new audiences. In her later years, Jessica Walter reached a new generation through voice acting as Mallory Archer in Archer. Her performance added sophistication and wit to the character, proving her ability to adapt and remain relevant across different eras of entertainment. Legacy and lasting impact. Jessica Walter is remembered for creating characters with depth, intelligence, and personality. She didn't just perform lines, she shaped roles that stayed with audiences. Her work continues to resonate, and her influence remains present in both dramatic and comedic storytelling today. June Pointer, who passed away at the age of 52, is remembered as a vital voice in one of the most successful and influential vocal groups of the 1970s and 1980s, the Pointer Sisters. 20 years ago this week, her passing marked the end of a significant chapter in pop, R&B, and dance music history, one shaped by powerful harmonies, infectious energy, and a unique family dynamic that helped the group stand out across decades. A voice behind iconic hits. As part of the Pointer Sisters, June contributed to a string of enduring hits that defined an era of crossover pop and R&B. Songs such as Fire, He's So Shy, Jump, For My Love, and I'm So Excited became global anthems, known for their energy, vocal precision, and danceable rhythms. June's voice blended seamlessly within the group's harmonies, helping create a sound that was both polished and full of personality. These songs were more than chart successes. They became cultural touchstones that filled radio waves, dance floors, and personal memories around the world. Legacy and enduring influence beyond the music itself, June Pointer's story reflects both the triumphs and pressures of life in the spotlight. Fame brought success, but also challenges that often remain unseen behind performances. Still, her contribution to music remains undeniable. The sound she helped create continues to inspire artists and entertain new audiences, keeping the Pointer Sisters' legacy alive. June Pointer's voice remains part of that lasting impact, one that continues to bring energy, emotion, and joy to listeners long after her passing.
Kenny Morris, born in 1957, was an original member of the influential post-punk band Susie and the Banshees, As a self-taught drummer, he developed a raw and expressive style that helped shape the band's early identity. His playing brought texture and atmosphere rather than technical excess, contributing to a sound that would later define an entire era of post-punk music. Key recordings and band role Morris performed on the band's early albums The Scream and Join Hands. These recordings captured a tense, experimental energy, with his drumming playing a central role in shaping their haunting and unconventional sound. Though his time with the group was brief, his contribution was foundational in establishing their early direction, creative path beyond music. After leaving the band in 1979, Morris continued to explore multiple creative fields. He worked in music performance and production, studied film, and directed short films. Later, after moving to Cork in the early 1990s, he turned to visual art, with his paintings exhibited in Dublin galleries. His work across mediums reflected a consistent focus on experimentation and artistic expression. Later work in Legacy. In his later years, Morris returned to drumming with the Dublin-based band Shrine of the Vampire and worked on a personal memoir. He is remembered for his creativity, versatility, and quiet artistic courage. His influence remains present in post-punk music and in the broader artistic communities he helped shape through both sound and visual art.
Carol Burnett stands as one of the most influential figures in American television history, a performer whose work brought joy to an estimated 40 million viewers over 11 seasons of her groundbreaking variety show. With 25 Emmy Awards, a Presidential Medal of Freedom, and a legacy that reshaped comedy for women, she became a symbol of resilience and brilliance in entertainment. Yet her story is not only about success on stage and screen, but also about the human strength it takes to keep creating joy while carrying private sorrow. What made her remarkable was not just her talent for comedy, but her ability to transform personal struggle into performances that helped others feel less alone. Behind every sketch, every song, and every iconic moment of laughter was a woman who understood pain intimately. Her work was never about escaping reality. It was about reshaping it into something survivable. Carol Burnett's life reflects a rare truth in entertainment. The brightest laughter often comes from the deepest emotional places, and the most enduring art is born from lived experience rather than illusion. To understand her impact, it is necessary to look beyond the stage lights and explore the quieter, more complex journey that shaped her into a cultural icon who redefined what it meant to be vulnerable, funny, and human in public life. Early childhood and the formation of resilience. Carol Burnett was born in 1933 in San Antonio, Texas, into a household marked by instability and emotional struggle. Her early years were shaped by parents who faced significant personal challenges, including financial insecurity and alcohol dependency, which created an unpredictable home environment. Eventually, she was raised primarily by her grandmother in a small Hollywood apartment that offered safety but very few comforts. Life there was defined by simplicity and sacrifice, shared space, limited resources, and constant uncertainty about the future. Despite these conditions, Carol developed an early imagination that became her refuge. She found escape in nearby movie theatres, where stories on screen offered a glimpse of worlds far removed from her own reality. These films became more than entertainment. They became lessons in emotion, timing, and storytelling. They also planted the first seeds of performance as a way to process life rather than avoid it. Although her childhood carried emotional weight, it also cultivated sensitivity, observation, and humour as coping tools. Instead of being defined solely by hardship, she began to transform it into understanding. This period laid the foundation for her later ability to connect deeply with audiences, not by pretending pain did not exist, but by showing that joy could still be created alongside it. Discovery of performance and creative identity. As Carol grew older, school became one of the first structured environments where she began to express herself more freely. At Hollywood High School, she discovered drama classes, which provided a rare sense of belonging and creative possibility. Acting offered her something she had not experienced consistently in her early life: control over expression and emotion. Through performance, she could step into different identities and momentarily step outside her own circumstances. Teachers recognized her natural ability to communicate emotion with clarity and timing, especially in comedic roles where her instincts felt effortless. While many students were experimenting with confidence and identity, Carol was using performance as both exploration and protection. It became a way to transform insecurity into presence. At the same time, she remained aware of the limitations around her, including financial barriers that made higher education seem uncertain. Yet, her talent continued to grow, driven less by ambition in the traditional sense and more by necessity and curiosity. Acting was not just something she wanted to do, it became something she needed to do in order to make sense of her experiences. This period marked the beginning of her identity as a performer who could blend humour with emotional truth, a combination that would later define her career. UCLA years and the refining of craft. When Carol Burnett attended UCLA in the early 1950s, she entered a world that was dramatically different from the one she had known. Surrounded by students who often came from more stable and financially secure backgrounds, she initially felt out of place. However, this environment also pushed her to refine her discipline and deepen her understanding of performance. Studying theatre arts allowed her to explore technique more formally, but her most valuable education still came from lived experience. She observed people closely, studying how confidence, privilege, and insecurity express themselves in everyday behaviour. In acting classes, her performances stood out for their emotional honesty and comedic timing, both shaped by years of adapting to challenging circumstances. She learned to use humour not as distraction, but as precision, a way to reveal truth without overwhelming it. Despite financial pressures, she remained committed to her education, often balancing uncertainty with determination. Her time at UCLA also reinforced an important realization: talent alone was not enough. Persistence and adaptability were equally essential. By the time she graduated, she had developed not only technical skill, but also a clear sense of artistic identity. She understood that performance could carry emotional weight while still entertaining, a balance that would later become central to her success in television and theatre. New York breakthrough and early career struggles. After college, Carol Burnett moved to New York City, a decision that marked the beginning of her professional journey in entertainment. Arriving with limited resources and no established connections, she faced the reality of an industry that was highly competitive and often unforgiving. Early auditions brought rejection, and she spent periods working temporary jobs while continuing to pursue opportunities in theatre and television. Despite these challenges, she remained persistent, driven by both ambition and necessity. Gradually, her talent began to gain recognition, leading to small roles that showcased her versatility in both comedy and musical performance. A breakthrough moment came with a televised appearance that introduced her to a wider audience and opened doors to more significant opportunities. Her role in a Broadway production further solidified her reputation, earning critical praise for her ability to balance humour with emotional depth. These early years in New York were not defined by immediate success, but by steady growth, resilience, and learning. Each setback became part of her development as a performer who understood both struggle and achievement. By the end of this period, she had established herself as a rising talent in American entertainment, ready for the opportunity that would define her career. The Carol Burnett Show and cultural impact. In 1967, Carol Burnett launched her own variety program, a groundbreaking achievement at a time when such shows were rarely led by women. The program quickly became a defining force in American television, blending sketch comedy, musical performances, and audience interaction in a format that felt fresh and deeply personal. Her ability to move seamlessly between humour and emotion set the show apart. creating moments that resonated with viewers across generations. Over 11 seasons, the show produced iconic characters, unforgettable sketches, and a style of comedy that balanced absurdity with sincerity. Behind the scenes, the production required immense discipline, creativity, and collaboration with a talented ensemble cast. The show's success was not only measured in awards and ratings, but also in its cultural impact. It demonstrated that women could lead major television productions, and that comedy could be both intelligent and emotionally grounded. For many viewers, the show became a source of comfort during difficult times, offering laughter that felt authentic rather than superficial. Carol Burnett's presence as both performer and creative force helped redefine what television comedy could achieve, leaving a lasting influence on the industry and inspiring future generations of entertainers. Family life, personal challenges, and balance. While her professional life flourished, Carol Burnett's personal life carried its own complexities. She experienced multiple marriages and the challenges of balancing a demanding career with family responsibilities. As a mother of 3 daughters, she often faced the difficulty of managing time between work commitments and parenting. The intensity of her career sometimes meant long hours and extended periods away from home, which created emotional strain within her family life. Despite these challenges, she maintained deep love and commitment to her children, striving to support them in the ways she could. Her experiences reflect a broader reality faced by many working parents, particularly those in high-pressure careers. Success in one area often came with sacrifices in another, creating a constant effort to find balance. Over time, she spoke openly about these challenges, acknowledging both achievements and regrets with honesty. Rather than presenting an idealized version of life, she offered a more realistic understanding of what it means to pursue ambition while maintaining relationships. Her openness about these struggles added depth to her public image, making her not only a performer admired for talent, but also a person recognized for authenticity and self-awareness. Loss of her daughter and advocacy for healing. One of the most difficult chapters in Carol Burnett's life was the illness and passing of her eldest daughter, Carrie, in 2002. Carrie had faced long-term struggles with addiction earlier in life, but later worked toward recovery and rebuilding her future. In her later years, she and Carol even collaborated creatively, reflecting a renewed bond and shared artistic purpose. When Carrie was diagnosed with a serious illness, Carol supported her through treatment with deep dedication and hope. Her passing at a young age brought profound grief, reshaping Carol's emotional world. In the years that followed, she spoke with honesty about loss, grief, and the challenges of coping with unimaginable personal pain. Rather than withdrawing completely, she chose to channel her experience into advocacy, supporting addiction recovery programs and mental health awareness initiatives. Her efforts reflected a desire to help others facing similar struggles, ensuring that her daughter's journey contributed to broader understanding and compassion. This period of her life demonstrated that grief, while deeply personal, can also become a source of purpose when transformed into action that supports others. Later, life, legacy, and enduring influence. In her later years, Carol Burnett has continued to remain active in entertainment, making guest appearances, participating in interviews, and reflecting on her long career with humour and humility. Even in her 90s, she is celebrated not only for her past achievements, but also for her continued presence as a cultural icon. Age has brought physical limitations, but it has not diminished her voice, perspective, or influence. Her legacy extends far beyond awards or television history. It lives in the countless performers she inspired and the audiences she helped through laughter. She is widely recognized as a pioneer who opened doors for women in comedy and demonstrated that emotional honesty could be a powerful part of entertainment. More importantly, her life story reflects the resilience of someone who transformed hardship into creativity and creativity into connection. Carol Burnett's journey is ultimately about endurance, compassion, and the ability to bring light into difficult moments. Her work continues to remind audiences that humour is not separate from struggle, but often born from it, and that even in the presence of loss and change, art has the power to endure and heal.